Nezar Hamze remains here with us at the anchor desk. He's the director of CARE Florida, or actually the regional operations director for CARE Florida. Fred Fleitz standing by via Skype, the former CIA analyst and senior fellow for the Center for Security Policy. Fred, you've been waiting patiently. Thanks for your time. At the conference, one of the keynote speakers was an imam from Brooklyn, who may have had some ties to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. In fact, some accounts list him as an unindicted co-conspirator. Who is that man, and exactly what is the concern about him?
JD, the issue about this conference is, why won't CARE allow people to speak to the news media? Why are the participants being walled off from the news media? Not only is this individual you mentioned an unindicted co-conspirator, CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorist financing case in U.S. history, the Holy Land Foundation case of 2008. So I'm just wondering, what is this organization doing to stop radical Islam and the efforts by radical Islamists to engage in terrorism? This organization needs to clearly say terrorism is wrong. People who kill on behalf of someone because someone insults them is wrong. And then in modern society, we don't tolerate terrorism or attacks on our neighbor because they say something that we find offensive or insulting.
Nezar, obviously that was directed towards you. Your reaction to what you just heard Fred say.
Well, it's a fair question, but you know the whole saying, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Across the world, Muslims are rioting and killing people all over the world. Here in the United States, Muslims are just gathering and having peaceful, organizations and activities, and nobody's happy. So specifically regarding your other guests, laying blatant statement, why doesn't CARE condemn? It's just, how many times does CARE have to go on national TV?
Well, here we are on national television. So for the record, Hamir, as a representative of CARE, do you condemn the acts of terrorists both at home and abroad?
JD, I've been on the show before and I've done it, and I'll do it again, and I'll continue to do it. And not only has CARE done it, all the national Muslim organizations have also done it. As a matter of fact, those same national organizations, 20 of them, wrote a letter directly to refuting and calling out ISIS, saying that they're un-Islamic. But that's really not what we're here talking about right now. We're here talking about there's a protest of Muslims against Muslims in Texas that peacefully came together and had a conference about the Prophet and didn't do anything, didn't violate any law. And there are people that just don't like Muslims getting together and talking about the Prophet. That's what this is about.
Well, with reference to press credentials, you've been involved in CARE for a long time. Was it a mistake not to give unfettered access to the press to come into the event, to be able to listen to everything said and report on the entire conference?
Sure, I would have, if I was in charge and being part of that, which she's saying that CARE was in charge. CARE was not in charge of that event. I would have definitely given mainstream media access. However, there are news organizations like WMD and different ones that just have a very malicious agenda. And no matter what is said, it's going to be taken out of context and it's going to be used against Muslims. So why even invite them? Invite the mainstream media. Go Newsmax, go and cover it.
Fred, I want to get your response. So what should he be doing? In other words, what should not just you, but your organization, what would you like to see happen?
Well, we did see a condemnation of the terrorist attacks in Paris by a CARE leader, but he also tried to lump anti-Muslim extremists with ISIS. And these seem to be people who criticize Islam, but are not advocating violence against Islam. All these statements by CARE always have some type of a caveat. And I mean, that's an issue I have. Whenever there's protest, whenever there's violence between Hamas and Israel, CARE is the first one off the block to start condemning Israel and to say nothing about the missile attacks from Hamas against Israel. There's a consistent pattern here. As I said, CARE was cited as an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorist financing case in U.S. history. Case closed.
Well, mindful about that financing of terror, what is the role of CARE? What has happened in terms of following the money? Is that a legitimate concern?
Yeah, and it is a legitimate concern, but as I told you before, JD, CARE is a federation of chapters. I work for Care Florida. We're not an unindicted anything. We're just as unindicted as you are unindicted. So that there's this huge paint, everybody with a broad brush. Regarding having an angle, we live in the United States. We have the ability to speak and give a different perspective. We condemn terrorism. All the chapters condemn terrorism on a consistent basis. I'm sorry that we say things that other people don't like. But you know what? That's our right in the United States, and we do it peacefully, and we'll continue to do it.
And amidst all this discussion this morning, we really didn't get a chance to turn to Europe, yet what is happening here close to home in terms of geographical proximity and the concern shared is worth talking about. To Fred Fleitz in Washington, we thank you for your time. To Nezar Hamze here on the Anchor Desk in Florida, thank you very much for your time. The discussions will continue in the days ahead, and America's Forum will continue right after this.